Lot of corny, man. A lot of corny rappers, man. I'm just like, yo, man. I could name a list of 100 corny rappers, yo, right now. Man from New York. They ain't supposed to be rapping. I mean, who really like these? Tell me, I want to know somebody.
What? Damn. I'm bad, you know.
And this isn't the only thing that DMX talked about. He also talked about how there were people in the industry that basically wanted to take you out to dinner and stuff to get a hold of your music. And you cannot tell me that DMX was not talking about Diddy, because the first thing that I thought of is when 50 Cent said that Diddy asked to take him shopping.
Man, y'all ever wonder why some of the realest interviews in hip-hop just vanish? Not flagged, not age restricted, just gone, like they never existed. I ain't talking about some random YouTuber with a mic and a dream. I'm talking DMX, Prodigy, two legends who weren't scared to speak on what's really going on behind the curtains. And right after they did, videos disappeared, footage wiped, whole conversations, memory hole. Nah, this wasn't no accident, because when you start naming names like Diddy, Jay-Z, and the shadowy hands that really run this industry, you become a problem. Let's talk about it. Peace and power, family. Welcome or welcome back to Panda Press. I'm P the Panda, and here we talk about what's going on in the world. Then we break it down, so maybe we all walk away a little smarter. And today, we're stepping into the shadows, because DMX and Prodigy didn't just make music, they made noise, the kind that gets silenced. But if you dig deep enough, some of those warnings still echo. So let's rewind the tape before they erased it.
The industry, man, it's not the same. Doesn't have to do with talent, it's about playing the game.
Look, DMX been telling us for years, this music industry ain't about talent, it's about control. And the crazy part, he didn't just say it once and move on. He screamed it in interviews, laced it in his rhymes, and even turned it into spoken word. If you never saw that 2007 Def Poetry Jam piece, it ain't no poem, it's a warning shot. He said, the industry don't give a fuck about you, but the industry couldn't make a dime without you.
The industry, man, it's not the same. Doesn't have to do with talent, it's about playing the game. The industry, real is dying to get in. The industry, just to find they don't fit in. The industry ain't what it used to be. The industry's trying to control the way you MC. They want you to dress like this and talk like that. But I'm going to dress like this and talk with the bat. The industry got your word meaning nothing. The industry, what you heard, because he's bluffing. The industry, money, hate, but I dare you to try to take a thing off my plate if you ain't got a strong mind. The industry will break you down, it's a matter of time. The industry, vultures with nothing to feast on. See me, I'm getting my beast on. The industry, stay in the dirt, play in the dirt, test the wrong one in the industry and you will get hurt. I'm not an industry artist, I'm an artist in the industry. Industry, wanted, dead or alive, new artists to sell their souls in the way they survive. The industry don't give a about you, but the industry couldn't make a dime without you.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Man, let that sink in. That line alone, it's the whole game in one sentence. See, X wasn't just talking about shady contracts or bad deals. He was talking about the system. The way labels don't just want your music, they want your image, your story, your soul if they can get it. He said they'll tell you what to wear, how to talk, who to associate with, even how to act on social media, before that was even a thing. And if you say, nah, I'm good, suddenly you got issues. You hard to work with, you fell off. That's how they play it. He said, they want you to dress like this, talk like that, but I'm gonna dress like this and talk with the bat. That wasn't just rebellious, that was survival, because X knew once you give them control over your voice, it's only a matter of time before they come for your mind. The industry will break you down. It's a matter of time. And ain't that what we've seen? How many artists come in bright-eyed and full of fire only to be broken, twisted, gone? X called them vultures, said they'll circle you, waiting for you to slip, then feast on whatever's left. And the thing is, he knew how to win the game. He had the #1 albums, the sold out tours, the movie deals, but he never played their game. He said, "I'm not an industry artist, I'm an artist in the industry." That's a big difference. An industry artist, they molded, they polished, they disposable. But an artist in the industry, that's someone who came in with their own fire and refused to let it go out. X was rough, raw, unfiltered. He wasn't trying to be perfect. He was trying to be real. And the industry ain't built for that. So while they smiled in his face, they never really backed him, because the truth he carried was too loud, too honest, too dangerous. But DMX wasn't just talking business moves and record deals, fam. He was talking spiritual warfare, and that's a whole different battlefield. You see, to X, this wasn't just labels versus artists, money versus art. It was light versus dark. He believed the real war was invisible, not fought in boardrooms, but in back rooms. Not with contracts, but with souls. And he wasn't being dramatic. He was being honest. He said some people in this industry ain't just shady. They're aligned with the dark. They move with it. They feed off it. And that's why he kept bringing up the devil. Now I know some folks hear that and roll their eyes like, all right, here we go, conspiracy talk. But X wasn't some internet weirdo looking for clout. He was a man who'd seen things, felt things, and lived through real darkness. He went on national TV, Dr. Phil, no less, and said he had 3 conversations with the devil. Yeah, 3. And he ain't say it like a metaphor. He wasn't up there saying, "Oh, I wrestled with temptation," like some motivational speaker. Nah, he said it plain.
3 conversations with the devil. Why with the devil?
Well, to make a fair decision, I think you have to be aware of both sides. And I was approached, so of course I had a conversation. It doesn't mean I rode with him or believed him. I just was able to recognize him by what he said to me and what he offered me.
Then I met the devil in God's country. You know, and it's not so much who, it's what, you know, what happened.
Let that sit for a second. That's like saying, I looked evil in the face and it tried to cut me a deal, but he ain't fold, he ain't signed his name in blood. He ain't chased the fast lane to fame. He said, I didn't ride with him, I didn't believe him, I just recognized who he was and walked away. You see what I'm saying? That ain't weakness, that's strength. Because when you're in the middle of that level of temptation, when the enemy's speaking your language, offering you everything you ever wanted, and you still say no, that's a warrior. X knew what he was dealing with. He knew not everyone in those labor offices was just trying to do business. Some of them, they were pushing pain. They were selling destruction. They weren't just trying to exploit artists, they were trying to own them.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
That's why he said the attacks got stronger the closer he got to God. Because once you choose light, the dark comes looking. That's how spiritual war works.
Whenever I went through something, it brought me closer to God. Mm-hmm. And I stayed into something. So now I'm closer to God. But being closer is hard. The attacks get stronger, become much harder to fight, and they last long. That's what it's always been. Joy, pain, dark to light, sun with the rain. With the right perspective, there can be something to gain. Look for the good and the bad.
The devil in God's country. Now let me take you to 2009. DMX is locked up in Arizona talking about a sunrise that changed his life. He said he pulled over just to watch the sky light up, and that's when he felt it. He called Arizona God's country. But then he said he met the devil there, not a man in red with horns, not some cartoon villain. He said it like this: it's not so much who, it's what. The devil moves through people. No one person got enough power to be the devil, but when I met him, that's when I realized how strong I really was. Man, that ain't a metaphor. That's a moment, and you could tell it shook him deep. Because after that, he said he'd never set foot in Arizona again. Not for a show, not for a visit, not even to fly over. He wasn't scared, he was done. Now the question is, who or what was he really talking about? When DMX said he had conversations with the devil, when he talked about meeting the devil in God's country, was that just spiritual talk, or was that real? See, some folks chalked it up to metaphor. They said, oh, he's talking about temptation, addiction, maybe depression. And sure, DMX had his demons. He talked about them openly. But the way he said it, The way he looked when he said it, that didn't feel like a metaphor. That felt like a confession, like he met someone or something that tried to get him to switch sides. And the deal, it wasn't a record deal. It was the kind of offer that changes everything. Money, power, protection, immortality in the game. But the price, your integrity, your spirit, your soul. And the deeper you look, the more you realize he might have been telling us exactly who it was. Because even though he never dropped names in that exact moment, he did leave breadcrumbs. He called out Jay-Z, said Jay went from brother to gatekeeper, from ally to obstacle.
Like I said, I had the crazy track record, Def Jam, everything was good. You know, I go to do the 6th album, and you know,
Jay-Z became president.
Yeah. You know, when he first got the job, he hit me with the call like, yo, dog, it makes us run in the building like, yo, you good? Finish the album, shoot the video. So what happened? She didn't. You know, we don't know. What you mean you don't know? How do you listen to a whole album, pick a single, shoot a video, then don't know?
He called out Diddy, exposed the toxic power plays and the twisted stuff going down behind the scenes. And he definitely called out Lyor Cohen, a man who DMX saw as the culture's biggest parasite. This wasn't random. X was building a map, and if you follow the names he mentioned, you end up in some of the darkest corners of the music industry. So when he said, I met the devil in God's country, some folks ain't hear that as poetry. They heard that as code.
I first came to Arizona, man, and I remember one day coming from the studio at 6 o'clock in the morning and pulling over on the highway. It'd be like 4 cars, you know, just to watch the sunrise. And it was at that point that I fell in love with Arizona. I said, you know what, this has to be God's country. You know, because I'd never seen anything as beautiful as that sunrise. Then I met the devil in God's country. You know, and it's not so much who, it's what, you know, what happens and the things that the devil does. It's not so much a person, even though he acts through people. You know, you can't call one person the devil.
Joe Arpaio?
You know, you can't call any one person the devil. You can't do that because no one person has enough power to be the devil. You know, and you know, it's through all these hardships that I realized that, you know what, this is God's country because I met the devil here. Because if I hadn't met the devil here, I wouldn't realize I was strong enough to overcome the obstacles that the devil would place in my path. And it's by overcoming these obstacles that I realized that this is God's country because he helped me get over these obstacles. He helped me get over these hurdles.
Okay, so but when you're done here, you're out of here.
I'm not looking back.
You're not coming back?
No, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back for a show. I'm not coming back for a visit. I'm not even driving through the states. If I'm in a plane and they gotta fly over it, I'm gonna go around.
Because when you're in that deep and you see who's really running things and you still decide to speak out, you can't just say names. You gotta speak in signals. So the people who need to hear it, hear it. But the people who run the show, they don't come for you immediately. They wait, they isolate, then they erase. And maybe, just maybe, that's why DMX spoke the way he did. Not to confuse us, but to protect himself while still telling the truth. And if that's the case, he did exactly what he had to do. Now let's talk Diddy. Yeah, Mr. Bad Boy for life. The shiny suits, the champagne, the parties. But behind all that flash, there's always been shadows. There's this old clip. It don't get shared too much. But in it, DMX flat out accuses Diddy of, let's just say, violating his artists. Now, back in the day, folks took that to mean financially. You know, shady contracts, bad publishing splits, the usual label hustle. But now, with everything that's come out in the past year, the lawsuits, the raids, the survivor stories, a lot of people are looking at X's words differently. Like, maybe he wasn't talking money, maybe he was talking something else. Because when you start lining up all the odd stories, the whispers, the sudden silences, it starts feeling less like industry drama and more like a damn pattern. You got 50 Cent, a dude who rarely holds his tongue, saying that Diddy once invited him to go shopping. And not just in a casual way, in that weird, let me treat you like a prize type of way. And 50 laughed it off like, nah, I ain't going shopping with you, homie. Then you got other artists, both men and women, who've been hinting for years about strange meetings, private parties, rooms you walk into and instantly feel the pressure, not business pressure, predator pressure. You feeling me? There's a clip where Usher talks about living with Diddy when he was a teenager, and even he starts smiling uncomfortably like, yeah, a lot was going on. I ain't even gonna speak on it. That ain't a joke. That's trauma behind a PR smile. And DMX, he was never one to play the quiet game. If something smelled foul, he'd call it out, even if nobody else would. So when he said Diddy was doing grimy things to his artists, maybe he was sounding the alarm and we just wasn't ready to hear it. Because let's be real, Diddy's always had that clean image in the public eye. Slick suits, black excellence, mogul moves. But behind the scenes, people been talking for years. It's just that now, some of those whispers got names and lawyers and receipts. So when X said what he said, maybe he was trying to protect future artists. Maybe he was fed up with the silence, or maybe he just couldn't sit back and watch another black man weaponize his power against his own people. Whatever the reason, he ain't just say it to be messy. He said it because he knew. And now that all the dirt's rising to the surface, it's hard not to wonder how deep it really goes. Then there's Jay. Now look, people love to act like Hov is untouchable, like he the godfather of the game and everything he touched turned platinum. And yeah, the man built an empire, no doubt. But when he stepped into that Def Jam president role in 2004, that move wasn't just about business. It shifted the whole power dynamic in hip hop. At that time, DMX was cooking his 6th album, Year of the Dog, again. And Jay, he called him up, showed love, said, yo dog, finish the album, I got you. Sounded cool on the surface, but then silence. No rollout, no support, no push. DMX said it himself. How do you listen to the whole album? Pick a single, shoot the video, then tell me you don't know what happened.
Like I said, I had the crazy track record, Def Jam, everything was good. I go to do the 6th album, and
Jay-Z became president.
Yeah. When he first got the job, he hit me with the call like, yo, dog, Mace is running the building like, yo, you good?
Mm-hmm.
Finish the album, shoot the video. So what happened?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't, we don't know. What you mean you don't know?
Mm-hmm.
How do you listen to a whole album, pick a single, shoot a video, then don't know?
That ain't no clerical error. That ain't no marketing delay. That's intentional. That's someone hitting the brakes on purpose. X wasn't dumb. He knew the game. He felt it in his bones. Jay wasn't just busy. Jay didn't want the smoke. See, at that point, DMX still had momentum, still had fans in the streets, still had a rawness that Jay never quite had. And when you, the new boss at Def Jam, you don't want your biggest rival on your own roster. So what do? You slow it down, you let the project sink. You pretend it's business when really it's ego. DMX believed Jay was trying to erase him from the board. Not because he didn't respect the craft, but because he knew how powerful X really was.
First meeting I ever had, I was like, we got to sign DMX. And they laughed at me. I remember when I left the office, Tina Davis said, she knew I wanted to sign DMX. She said, if DMX don't sell, your ass is fired. Jay and Dame did not believe in DMX. Jay would be like, you think he's better than me? And I'd be like, he's nice just like you. I said, if you look in the hood, there's less of like you and more like him. Yeah, but he don't want to live that. He's depressing, Gotti. And I said, I don't give a f. So Jay used to watch me grind with X, and he was off with the Hitman. And then something strange happened when I made Get At Me Dog. If you remember at the beginning of the video, it's the heartbeats. Doom, DMX, doom, live at the tunnel. Y'all don't even remember the tunnel. Funk Master Voice, doom. And then I put that sound bite. Let's take it back to the streets, mother. Doom. The videos flashing, f***ing up your eyes. It caused change. And now, it was no more shiny suits. We back to the hood, and X is the leader of this f***ing revolution. I used to put on the f***ing wall a triangle with 5. And it was like, they used to clown me. And they used to be like, who's gonna buy his records, Gotti? Chihuahuas, he's barking. No one wants to hear that bullshit. And I'd be like, yeah. So 05. It was no more writing on the walls. It was, y'all can get behind me. I used to tell Lyor in the midst of the whole staff, and I would tell him, yo, shut the fuck up, yo. I said, you work better when you shut up and get behind me. Now this is what we doing. And he would shut up.
Now add to that, Jay aligning himself with Lyor Cohen, a man who literally sat on camera and said, yeah, these rappers are promoting syrup and pills, but hey, I got mouths to feed. That's who Jay chose as a mentor, a dude who ain't care what poison got pushed through the speakers as long as the checks cleared. And once those two got together, Jay at the front, Lyor in the background, that's when things got real murky, because now you got two suits, one who plays the clean king role and one who's been feasting off the culture for decades. And guess who they quietly pushed out the building? DMX. Not with a diss track, not with a press release. Just silence, a slow fade, and X felt that betrayal heavy because in his mind, this wasn't just about business. This was personal. Look, if you're still with me, hit that like and subscribe for more. Don't stop the flow. We got more to unpack. So let's break down this dude, Lyor Cohen, real quick. Big time executive. Ran Def Jam, signed artists, made millions off hip hop. But in a 2018 interview, he straight up admitted that he'd rather sign a talented artist who promotes lean and pills than walk away from the money. He said, I got people to feed, I got a business to run. When the interviewer called him out for being a hypocrite, dude said, you weren't paying attention. Nah, we were paying attention. You just got caught. This is the same guy Jay-Z called his mentor, the same guy who, when DMX died, called him a gremlin.
Real bad problem, DMX.
I'm so sad. DMX, there's two people inside of him. And the Earl is one of the nicest people. I put him up in Lake George. Earl loved being silent with a fishing pole. I shit you not. He just would stay on that dock hours and hours and hours and hours. Yeah, very, very sad. You know, I think the opiate problem, the syrup problem, is the biggest problem that I've ever seen and I've ever faced and been a part of. And I can't with it. You know, the crack thing was devastating, but at least the rappers were bringing a spotlight to you becoming a fiend. Okay. And I thought that spotlight, head crack, helped, even though it was harsh and really really rough, particularly on women. But I think it helped change the course of the crack epidemic. I don't know what's this opioid thing, man.
But being a crackhead wasn't cool back then. Being a crackhead wasn't cool. Now it seems like they're making it cool to be drinking lean and syrup, and
it's the most dangerous. It's the most dangerous thing that's facing our society.
So why sign an artist that would promote that?
Because I already answered that question. You weren't paying attention. She asked me talent or issues, and I said talent. But I have to. I can't give up on people.
I don't think that's hypocritical though. You're saying
it's opportunistic. Yeah. I got people to feed. I got a business to run.
You're gonna make Dame Dash take this clip and call you a culture vulture.
Who's Dame Dash? You brought him up. I don't even know him. So you bring his name up. I don't even know him. So
y'all made a lot of money together.
Made a lot of
money.
Come
on, Leo. Don't do that to him.
I don't know him. I really don't. So I don't know what to tell you.
Said he was reckless and looking for a wall to crash into. Right after the man passed, that ain't just disrespectful. That's heartless. And then he turned around and tried to take credit for DMX's success. But Irv Gotti ain't let that slide. He said when he first brought up signing DMX, Jay and Leor laughed at him. They said X wasn't marketable. They didn't believe he could sell. Jay even said, "You think he's better than me?" And Gotti told him straight, "He's just as nice. And in the hood, there's more people like him than like you." Boom. And when Gotti made "Get At Me Dog," that beat, that heartbeat, changed the whole culture. No more shiny suits, no more champagne rap. DMX took us back to the streets, and everyone followed. Now let's switch gears and talk about Prodigy. Mobb Deep, East Coast legend, never scared to speak on the real. He been warning us about secret societies long before it was trendy. Illuminati, rituals, puppet masters in the shadows. Prodigy said it all, and he ain't say it in riddles either. He named names. He said folks like Diddy and Jay-Z knew exactly who was really in charge, and they chose to side with them.
The Hip Hop Task Force was created to watch Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, to watch the artists that was connected with P. Diddy. A lot of times people say, you're a conspiracy theorist, you watch too many movies or something like that, you know? But a lot of stuff I was learning was very real.
In a leaked letter from jail, one that most major outlets tried to erase, Prodigy said this: "The government, religion, the Federal Reserve is all a joke. Jay-Z knows the truth, but he chose evil to stay accepted in the corporate world." Man, he wasn't just throwing shots. He was on a mission. He said, "I'll keep exposing Jay-Z, the Illuminati, and every other evil until my lights are put out. I fear nothing because the truth set me free."
I still had no fear in my heart, you know, about speaking my mind and letting people know what time it is. There's no reason for me to fear because it's really nothing. There's nothing they can do besides me, and I'm not afraid of that. Ritualistic and rituals on little, you know, they little kids doing satanic rituals. Like, this stuff is really going on in this world. Like, you know what I mean? You got, you know, sick people like Jeffrey Dahmer and different people like that. And I believe that it was a different background to it, of why he was doing what he was doing. I think it was some ritualistic things going on.
Now, 5 months before he died, Prodigy dropped what would be his final album, Hegelian Dialectic, the Book of Revelation, a full-blown warning in musical form. He didn't hold back. He talked about secret societies, elite control, population agendas, all of it. And he wasn't done. He was working on a whole musical based on those same theories. Then, June 20th, 2017, gone. They said he died from complications related to sickle cell. But the coroner's report said he choked on a boiled egg in the hospital.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
A boiled egg? Come on, man. Even his family didn't buy that story. They sued the hospital for medical negligence, said they ignored instructions, didn't monitor his oxygen, but still, nobody explained how you choke to death on an egg in a hospital. That's wild. And a lot of fans, to this day, don't believe it. See, when you stack it all together, DMX and Prodigy both called out the same people. Jay-Z, Diddy, Lyor, both talked about spiritual darkness, hidden hands, and power games.
The group that was formed like in the 1700s, something like that, 1600s. This dude named Adam Weishaupt. He started this group of people, like powerful, rich people that basically can shape popular opinion and the way, you know, the world is gonna move forward.
Both spoke openly about forces behind the music, and both died under suspicious circumstances. Coincidence? Maybe, but it don't smell right. Here's what I'll say, man. You don't gotta believe in the Illuminati. You don't gotta think every exec is evil. But when the same names keep coming up, when the same voices keep getting silenced, and when the ones who speak truth keep turning up dead, you gotta at least ask yourself, why? See, what DMX and Prodigy really tried to do was warn us about the cost of truth in an industry built on lies. They weren't just rappers, they were messengers. And the system, it don't like messengers. So next time you see a clip get wiped or an interview disappear, Remember this, it's not always about copyright. Sometimes it's about control. That's the game for today. You can stay blind or pay attention. I'll see you on the next one. Panda out.